I stayed up and I got things out today so that now we're even. Okay, we're even up. I will look at the SBIRT stuff and get some commentary out there for this basic piece of SBIRT. We're not going to do tons of questions on it, but there are some things that are valuable in there in terms of technique, so we'll just look at those. So I will be getting those out to you this evening, so you'll have that piece, so we'll be even up. Tomorrow morning we have schizophrenia. It's Roger Tim. I've already posted your, he had a handout that he wanted to use, so I've already put it. It's a slide presentation. And Dr. Latazzi put a new lithium thing up, and I'll put that on your board too, so all of your materials are up to date as far as they can be for right now. But I do apologize for those objectives. I know how some of you work with them in real time, and some people like to work with them right after that. So this is not the way I wanted things to come out. I just feel like I've been behind the 8 ball from the get-go, and I didn't even ask to be there. But I'll give y'all some slack if y'all give me some. Y'all pretty much do, so I feel pretty good about that. Other thing, are there any things that we can do different to make it work better so far? I'm hoping that you feel like you've got what you need and that our timing is okay. I told you this week was a big week, and once we get it all laid down, it begins to smooth out so that you have time to look at materials, think about it, and process it. And I put in 2 sessions next week, one on Wednesday. We've got the 2 hours. We may or may not use all of it, and then we also have one on Friday. So that as you've looked at stuff and we've had a chance to kind of work with it some, if you have questions, nuances on how stuff is used, we can talk about those so that when you get to next weekend before your test, I want you to feel like you possess the information and you know what you have to know and how, and that there's no mysteries going into the weekend before you take that test. Is there anything else that can be done different right now to make it make sense or to be helpful in any way? And you criticize me, I'm okay, I'm not going to go cry and get upset. And if you have something very unique to you, you can send an email. But so far, is everything going okay? Okay. We kind of got launched in a hurry and just kind of blasting out. The past 2 days have been a little bit of introducing certain skill sets. You can understand why those skill sets are important. When you're in primary care, a lot of stuff goes by that's big, that kind of goes by, that doesn't get attended to. And these really are efforts to try to give you some kind of technique and some kind of method that's kind of efficient to get things done so that you don't just have to sit there and watch it day after day after day and never intervene somehow when you could. So that's where we are. From here on out, you get skill practice on Friday, you get skill practice on the following Friday. I do not want y'all to wind up about grades about that, because I think when you put grades like that into activities like this, it actually probably makes you not function at the same level of ease or fluidity that you would ordinarily. And I don't want that to be in the context. I don't. I want you to go do the best you can do. Take it seriously. Take your shot. It's the best way to learn how to do this. There's no way to learn how to do this type of motivational interviewing. It's not lecture content. You have to present it, but you have to do it. And you have to do it a lot in practice, and you'll get to practice a bunch next year. This year just kind of launches ideas on how to start thinking about interacting with patients. But when you go in on Friday this week and Friday next week, do not be thinking about the grade. I couldn't emphasize that enough. I need you to be relaxed and confident to do the best you can, and try to see how you can leverage things, with a person who may need to have leveraging, in some kind of a way. Practice your techniques. If you bump into yourself or you get tongue-tied and you don't know what to do, it's fine. That's how it happens for everybody all the time. Every day I leave clinic, I'm always thinking, well, shoot, I could have said this, or shoot, I wish I'd have done that. And you will always feel that way. That's just normal self-assessment and criticism. But I want you to be relaxed. You'll get feedback. I want you to have the experience, and I want you to have the feedback wide open. Let's just look at me and see what we're doing and get some feel for myself. The reflective paragraph is simply for you to back up a step or two and look at yourself and just tell me something about that experience at that moment. I'll probably tonight will have that posted also, because I really want to put that activity up so you can see what that will look like. And if it makes any sense at all, you're going to get full credit for what we're doing. This is not a sort them out grading type of an activity. It is an experience, and I want you to do it and be serious about it, think about it, and then move on. And then I will have accomplished the purpose for what it's worth. Okay, does that make sense? Any other feedback you want to give me? Anybody? Okay. All right. I've asked. The door's open. You can find me. I watch the emails. I'm out there somewhere. On this EVM, this was actually pretty easy. Don't you think?
Yes.
What kind of article is this? It's just a review article. Is it a systematic review?
No.
No. Is it a comparative study? No. Is there actually even a question?
No.
There's no research question, but what is the basis of the article? It's kind of case-driven. You know, you see that a lot of times, and I think they're actually very helpful. You get to read a case, and then they speculate about what therapies might be available, and then they kind of go in and do a deeper review. So this is just a straight-out review article, very much like the straight-out review article we had on metformin. This one just happened to be on triptans. So given that, question one, were the question and methods clearly stated, and were the search methods used to locate relevant studies comprehensive? Well, there was no question, so there's no methods. And did they talk about any search methods to look at articles? No, they just gave us what they gave us. They gave us some randomized studies, that's all we know, right? Okay. Were explicit methods used to determine which articles to include in the review, and were the selection and assessment of the methodologic quality of the primary studies reproducible and free from bias? I mean, the answer is no. Who would know? They didn't declare anything. It's just a review article, not a systematic review. So that's a no. Were the differences in the individual study results adequately explained, and were the results of the primary studies combined appropriately? So were individual study results explained? Kinda. I mean, I would say they might give you a one sentence. Did you think like a one sentence summation of what was there? Anybody's have any other take on it? Not really. They kind of glopped together all the randomized studies and kind of told us some things about what we're seeing. I mean, it's helpful, but they didn't do that. Did they combine the studies statistically? No, there's no combining statistically. Were the reviewers' conclusions supported by the data cited? I mean, you know, I can tell you yes or no depending on how you actually take that question, because it's not a very explicit question. If you say, were there conclusions supported by the data, and you were making reference to the study question, then there's no study question, so the conclusions are just really summary statements about the information they presented. So I'll just kind of read what you do with that. If it's a yes or no, it's not really, there's no right or wrong answer to it. It's if it were a systematic review and there were questions, a question posed, then we could answer that, but there really isn't. It's just a review article. So there's no need to get wound up about it. Okay, if you do yes or you do no, and you give me a rationale, I'm gonna be okay with that. These mostly should be 10 out of 10. I don't see a reason why they should not be. Unless you turn nothing in, or you give me one answer no, and I'm supposed to figure out which questions it applies to. Mostly all of them. I don't think anybody would have that. Any other questions or comments you want to offer about this? No? You want your freedom? You may have it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.